Hi, today we're going to be taking a look at the Luminar Neo GenErase tool. This is something that you'll get if you purchase the Pro plan, and you may also be able to get it as an add-on if you have the lifetime purchase. But keep in mind, if you're buying Luminar Neo, the lifetime purchase is yours for life, but it doesn't include all of the extensions and everything else. The Pro plan is basically a subscription, and it gives you all of the tools. So if you're looking for a GenErase and you don't see it and you've got the lifetime plan, that's probably the reason why. If you have a Pro plan subscription, you're going to find GenErase and other generative tools here under the catalog. You're not going to find them under the edit. So it's different than the extensions that you see over here. So if we click on, let's just say this photo, and we go to edit, you're not going to see GenErase over here. And you've got a list of what your extras are over here, but let's go back to the catalog. Talk about GenErase and why is this here? What is different about it versus the regular erase tool? Well, I actually like the erase tool that is inside of Luminar Neo that came with it and is still in it if you've got the lifetime plan. It's not a bad little tool. So let's take a look at something that's pretty simple. And then we'll take a look at the same thing using GenErase. So we've got this photograph I took at a local Orlando bar of a nightclub and musician. And let's say that I want to get rid of the microphone and the stand. If I go over to edit, I can choose erase and I'll adjust my brush size and I'll just select all of this over here and I'll come down to about there and we're going to head, click erase. And there it is. It's gone. And it's done a pretty decent job of replacing the background. So you'd think that would almost be your AI tool there. I don't see a lot of fill. There might be a little spot here. I don't know if that's left over from the microphone or just something that I didn't get properly. And there's a spot over here. So in other words, you may need to do some touch up. Let me undo this. And you can see there's a wire. So those things that I saw were probably just imperfections with the way the erase tool worked. All right, so let's deselect everything. Actually, we'll just reset this. And I'm going to go back to the catalog. And I've still got this photo selected. Let's go over to use GenErase. Now, something to keep in mind with GenErase, a couple of things. First off, you must be connected to the internet to use it because it's going to be sending information to servers, whereas the erase tool works on your computer, your laptop, whatever you have, without an internet connection. Now, the folks at Skylum are not keeping your photo. They're not keeping the changes. They are simply processing it and returning it to you. So if you have concerns about privacy, and I don't blame you if you do because I'm an information security geek, this one I trust. So they're not keeping it. They're not storing it. They're just simply processing it and returning results to you. The erase tool that's in here doesn't go off to anybody else. So that is a key difference. The other thing about the GenErase tool is that it kind of has a limit of a square 1,536 pixels across and down. So think of that as a square. If you're trying to erase something larger than that, you're probably going to get bad results. And we'll try that so I can show you an example of the bad results. The third thing is it is a generative product, which means you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. And I've been surprised by some of the results that I've seen so far. It tries to look at the background of whatever you have and fill that in a natural way. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it doesn't. Part of that may be based upon the way you made your selection. Maybe it was larger than the 1536 by 1536 area. But we'll try a few examples. We'll try to see if we can make it work properly and also if we can screw it up. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to select all of this. And I'm going to come down right here just above his hand. And you may want to go a little bit outside of the area because you're trying to give it enough information to work with. Because if it's going to use information that is surrounding the item that you want to get rid of, then it needs to see a little bit more than just a perfect selection of what you want to do. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select erase. And it's going to go ahead and think this is where it's communicating with the servers and it comes back. How long it takes is going to depend on a number of factors. And some of that is going to be the internet connection. Some of it's the speed of your computer. Maybe if the servers are busy or not. I have found that it can happen in as little as 15 seconds. It might take up to 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then it's done. All right, so you can see the place where I've got my selection, and this is what it gave me. It gave me two problems. One, there's another microphone over here, and two, you can see in this area over here, a bit of murkiness, and it just didn't quite color match. So it didn't really work that well on this one. I didn't really want another microphone stand pointing away from them. I'd wanted to get rid of it. In this case, the standard erase tool was better for the need that I wanted to get rid of it. Let's go over here, and if you don't like the results you get, you can click erase, and it will go through and concentrate on all this stuff again, and it will generate another issue. Now, here's the thing. When I say generate, it's going to put something there. It may not put what you want there or what you expect. So that's one of the fun things about this. I'm going to show you another image where I got some really strange results. Okay, we're back to this one. And now you can see, again, this did not really do a great job, at least in this part over here by the curtain. So sometimes you may be better off using the standard erase tool instead of generative or erase. That's no wonder they call it GenErase. I can't pronounce generative. All right, so I'm going to cancel this because I don't want to mess this photo up. I'm going to come over here to this photo I took up in Seattle at the market. What was it? Pike's Place? I can't remember the name. It's been many years since I got there. And this one, I want to try and see what happens if I get rid of this car. So let's go to GenErase. And I'm going to select the car. And I want to make sure I've got everything selected. So we're going to come over here, like I said, just a little bit beyond. And I'll click erase, and I'll try and speed this up in editing. All right, we're done. So you can see the area I selected. Let's move this cursor off. And that's not a half bad job at all. It looks like brick. You can see that there's over here, there's differences between the color of the bricks here on this side. And it did the same thing down the line. It's even got those little white marks that are showing up in other places. One of the things I was wondering about was how it was going to affect this curb over here and that area. But that is actually very believable. In this case, I think it did a great job. I don't think you would have gotten the same kind of job using the erase tool. So let's cancel this. I'm not saving any of my choices here. And there's a few other things over here that I like. So this is one from the Venetian at Las Vegas. We'll click on GenErase. And this is where I want to see if I can remove some tourists. And this is something that we often find that it's going to happen. Now, there's a lot of people around here. You're not going to do this all in one go. What you're probably going to do is you're going to select a few people. And I might select these two over here. I don't want to get too greedy. And let's click erase. And you can see that I have gotten rid of those folks, and it's got the tile that's there. So that's kind of what I wanted. Let's go back. We're going to reset our selection, and we're going to get rid of this gentleman here and maybe some people in the background there. And I think this is a lady over here. I'm not going to get greedy and try and get rid of those folks. Let's go ahead and try this one more time. All right, we're done. So you can see there's the selection I had. And there are people in the background of where I had folks that I've removed. I'm not going to go ahead and try and remove everybody here, but I'm going to do something that looks a little bit tricky. Looks like a mother and child here. I'm going to see if I can get this little portion of the child and then come over here to the mother and just basically see if we can remove those folks over there. And I don't know if this is part of her or not. Yeah, that looks like her arm going out. So we're going to, actually, you know what? I almost made a mistake. I left my selection over here and then I added this. That's probably going to give us bad results because I'm adding up the number of pixels. Remember, you've got a limit, 1536 by 1536, even if you're doing it in different places. So you want to remember to reset your selection before you go ahead and try again, because that's kind of where we may have gotten some of those blurry results on the musician, the keyboard player and his microphone, because it was trying to get too much, I think. So let's try that. So we're going to go ahead and click erase. And let's move this off. Not a bad job. One of the things you have to watch out for when you're using this is also any reflections or any shadows that the item or person that you're trying to remove is around. So these folks didn't have a shadow on them, but sometimes you can see there's a shadow over here that may be from this overhang, or sometimes you might have a shadow from a suitcase. And just keep in mind that that adds to your pixel count. So it's not only the object, it's any shadow or reflection that goes along with it. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to try and remove everybody in this scene. Would be here forever. But that's not a bad erase. And again, that's something I don't think you were going to get with the standard erase tool. I had a couple of things that I tested before, and I got some very odd results. So let's go down, see if I can't find the photo. This one, I'll click GenErase. And what I was trying to do was to get rid of these two boys over here. This is in Havana. They're diving off up here, and I got such an odd result. And I'm honestly hoping that it screws up again, that I give you another odd result so you can see what I happened to be before. So let's click Erase. Okay, so here's an example. This is not the odd result I had before. What happened to me before is this area straight up looked like a very tall number 2 yellow pencil. So it just did not belong there. So I got rid of them. But if you look at this little selection area that we've got, now look at the sky. There is an ever so faint area where they were removed and that mask was there. And if you print this, or if you look closely at it, you'll notice that shape is there. And it's just not a usable result. You can go back and click Erase to have it try again. You could make a different selection, but if you're going to use more pixels than it can process, that's usually when I've found that you get this kind of problem with the background where it's got that ever so faint thing. Let's see if we can undo this. So we brought them back. Now here's the problem. This is a large image. This is a raw photo of a 36 megapixel camera. It could be that the area that I've selected covers more pixels than what this can handle. And that's where you have to try and do a little bit at a time. But it's kind of hard to do a little bit at a time when they're contiguous like this. You might be able to come over here and, maybe do one of these and then do another one of these. So for example, if I try to just select this area and get rid of this little pylon or whatever you want to call it, that will probably work. And there, you can't really see that selection area as a faded area in there. So that was within the boundaries of what it can do. And that tells you that when you want to remove something, you can't necessarily remove a big selection area like these two boys. Is just a little bit more than it can handle. And that's something that you have to keep in mind. So it's not like you can go to your old girlfriend photos or boyfriend photos and then just rub them out. If they're, large enough in the photograph, it's just not going to look right. And if I try to remove this one, I'm certain that I wouldn't be able to succeed there because I couldn't get these two boys, and they're taking up a smaller pixel area than the main subject here. All right, so let's cancel this. Now, this photo, I had something I completely did not expect. And I thought, what happens if I try to remove this bouquet of flowers? So we're going to do most of the selection with a large brush. Then I'm going to go back and touch up the smaller branches that are coming out of here. So there's a little bit there. Just a couple of things. I'm trying to get what I missed. And the reason I wasn't certain how this was going to work is because you can see beneath the bouquet, you can see they're holding hands. And I thought, what's really going to happen here? Let's find out. And this is what it did. It replaced the bouquet. Now, last time I had some white flowers in here. And let's show you the before and after. So if we click this eye, this is what we had. And of course, that bouquet works with this scene much better. And then it replaced it with that. I had some white flowers that were in there on my test beforehand. Just for the fun of it, let's go click Erase and generate it again. As you can see, we got a mixed bag again this time. So some of those red flowers are there. We've got some white pink kind of flowers. And that's the generative part of GenErase. It really doesn't know what her dress is going to look like in that area, or their hands. You can see their fingers are still there. So it kept that. And same thing with his shirt. It did, I think, a fine job there. But it said, there's a bouquet here. He doesn't want the bouquet anymore. What does he want? He probably wants a different bouquet. This is the way the AI is thinking. And that's the generative part. So it's generating something else. Now, for all I know, it could have come back and given me a bouquet of puppies. But it still chose to replace this with a different set of flowers. And quite honestly, to me, these are not realistic looking flowers. Remember, we came from something like this. This looks realistic. To me, this does not. So when I said that you never know what you're going to get, I was really shocked and surprised to see this come up with this photo. I was shocked and surprised when I erased those two boys on the pier and it was replaced with a number 2 pencil that was standing up as tall as they were. Every once in a while, you get a nice little laugh out of it. So generative erase is a generative tool. It's going to put something in there. It's going to try and use the surrounding area to make it look like they just vanished. But there are limitations. If you have a row of people or a row of trees and you try to erase them, it's not going to work because it's still looking around the sides to see what's there. And there may be times when it works very well. There may be times when it fails. I find that when AI tools are rather new, sometimes they give you issues like this, but they improve over time. And that's been my result with Luminar AI, with Luminar Neo, and other AI tools. They will improve as they gather more data and they do more things. They'll figure out what people are looking for and do that. So we're going to get a bouquet here no matter what we do. And the question is, do you want the bouquet that you had before? Or do you want the bouquet that's going to replace it? But we're not going to just get them holding hands with this nice little pose. And that's what I'm finding with GenErase. I think it's a very interesting tool. I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses and continues working on. But be prepared that every once in a while, you may be better off using the erase tool rather than GenErase if you're just trying to get rid of something very simple on kind of a plain background. All right, that is a quick look at how the new GenErase tool works in Luminar Neo. There are other generative tools. We'll do those in a different video. And like all AI tools, remember what I said, they're going to work better. They're going to grow and improve over time. If you are looking for GenErase in Luminar Neo, first off, I've got a coupon code. I'll put a link down below in the description. So you've got the coupon code and a link where you can go. So it is an affiliate thing, but it won't cost you anything else. You can get this, if you do the subscription with a pro plan, you get all the tools. If you buy a lifetime license, but you don't get any of the extensions or other tools, you will not get GenErase. So keep that in mind. And it is just a phenomenal little set of tools. It does stuff that I didn't anticipate. And some people are looking at the results and I'm thinking, I think it's in the way that you use it. It is the selection area. Remember, Photoshop came out with this kind of technology as well, and their first results were not good at all. And it improved and got better over time. Plus, Photoshop limits you to 1024 by 1024 pixels. This one gives you much more with 1536 squared. So you've got a bigger area, and I think that it's going to take a little bit of practice with you working on your selections. And if you try to overdo it, you're probably going to get bad results. But for removing something that's rather small, that just get out of your way, that worked fine. Remember, when we did the example of the car, as a percentage of the frame, it fit within that little ratio area, and it worked just fine. Okay, that's all I've got to share about this. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next video.